Several years ago, when I was navigating the tough season of divorce and I was a single mom, this strange fear began to take root inside of me. It was a fear of heights, but strangely enough, it seemed to be focused on my fear of driving in the mountains and particularly driving over bridges. And during this time, my older daughter was playing soccer at King College in Bristol, Tennessee, so I would often drive from my home in North Carolina to Bristol to watch her play soccer. And on this particular day, I was driving near the field getting ready for the game. A light rain was falling and something went wrong and my car hydroplaned and flipped several times, landing on its side in a ditch. And it was totaled, and I amazingly emerged from that car seemingly unhurt and unscathed. And so you would think I would come out of this experience strengthened and more confident and bold, but I didn't. I came out of that experience terrified. And that fear of heights began to take deep root inside of me, not just as a fear, but an actual belief that if I were driving over mountains or particularly bridges, I would die. And the fear of losing or leaving my children was paralyzing to me. Well, this fear continued to stay inside of me. I thought of bridges as barriers. I went out of my way to avoid them. And then about a year later, after this, a friend of mine offered me her beautiful home in Oriental Beach to use as a personal sabbatical. I was very excited and I wanted to go, but I knew to get from the mainland to Oriental Beach, I would have to cross what for me seemed to be miles of terrifying bridges. So I snaked my way across those scary bridges and I arrived at my friend's beautiful home, and I had been a runner, so the first thing I thought I would do would go take a run. But during the season of coming through a divorce, I had begun what for me was a practice, very simple, just simply showing up in what I called God's story. So on any given day, I might just read a quick verse or word, whatever it might be, but for me, it wasn't looking for information or what to do. It was trying to make a connection to this God. So it was very relational, very conversational, and God for me truly became Abba Father. So when I stepped into this house, getting ready to go for a run, I had the strangest sense, these words in my head, and they seemed familiar. And these words said, "You've got to run the bridge." And I think I responded out loud and I said, "I am not running that bridge." I mean, it was big and scary. It was this big old drawbridge. And again, the sense, these words in my head came to me and they said, "But you've come to this sabbatical to face your fears. And today, you've got to run that bridge." So I made my way to the bridge and I paced back and forth at the foot of the bridge, hating bridges because they were barriers. And again, this sense, these words came to me in the kindest way. And the words ask, "So what do you need to cross the bridge? What do you need to run the bridge?" And again, I think I answered out loud and I said, "I need guts. I don't have the guts to run that bridge." And without any effort on my part, without ever thinking about scripture or a Bible verse, the words came to me, "Well, they'll be there when you need them because my grace is sufficient for you." Now, if you know the Bible or do Bible studies, you know that's a Bible verse in 2 Corinthians, but I didn't hear it as a Bible verse. I heard it as Abba Father saying, "So when you need guts, they'll be there. And as you run the bridge for you today, my sufficient grace is going to show up as guts to run this bridge." And I ran the bridge. I ran over and back, and I discovered that bridges are not barriers. They are connectors to all the faces and the frontiers that were created to love. But mostly I discovered that when I show up in my story, whatever it is, God's story wraps it around me. And I know nobody else in the universe would ever think that sufficient grace means guts to run a bridge. But for me, for that day, at that moment, that's what my Abba Father said when he wrapped his story around mine. He said, "For you today, you're going to have the guts to run that bridge."